Okay, so hello, Regeneration Nation. Me again. So I want to start this word as a precursor. If you haven't seen my video from before about how this came about, you can check that out. It's probably in the shorts. I'm not sure. Okay, so God has led many of us to move from our hometowns and where else that we were staying, to new lands with new prospects and along the way, what I found out is that there has been big infiltration, if we may, a big um, destruction that has been caused by the enemy, um, whether it be where one is supposed to be, how long they're supposed to be there, or in the word says that the steps of a righteous man are guided by the Lord, and it seems that the enemy, who has been for many of us walking parallel to God's plan, has tried to jeopardize God's plan. And many of us have found ourselves in confusion, in just like hope deferred, receiving word and prophecy that didn't come to pass in this past season, um, being told that things would work out a certain way and they didn't, or just feeling like there's just a bit of like a jeopardizing of this of God's plan of our lives, or what he said from the beginning, and we'd have to go and revisit really what he said before, because it's like, was this a lie? Did I believe a lie? Like, I know for me and for my family, when we up and left and we came to the space that we don't even know, and we found out that clearly, like, there were giants here, and it made so much sense because the Israelites, when God took them out of Egypt, he brought them into a land, right, of milk and honey. But however, before they could occupy the land, there were giants in the land, right? One of the messengers or the spies came back and they said, we are the size of grasshoppers in comparison to these people, because the descendants of the Nephilim were in the land. And so it was scary, right? And so we've encountered this here. Spiritually, of course, we've encountered this. There are many churches, many people of faith, but at the same time, this space is so riddled with so much um, sin and debauchery, like clubs, like the nightlife here is crazy. Someone said, upper is like, the quiet suburbia, and when you go closer to the beach, it's nightlife, it's Las Vegas, so um, these spaces that were once children of God were taken up by the enemy, and then God has brought us to these spaces to take them back, right? I see many other people also going to contentious spaces that you would think, that space is so riddled with so much evil. Why would he even send us there, right? And then we get here, and there's so much of a backlash when we're praying for revival, even though, like, I will say that we saw much happening here in terms of um I remember, I think I posted about it once, like how near the club scene there was like someone had spray painted, Jesus Christ is Lord, like a week, or like not a week, a month or two after we'd been here, where I was like, God, are we even making any kind of a difference, like, in being here and praying for these spaces and for these people? And how you said that there were people here that are, your children, but that are um spiritually, what can I say, like, drained, oppressed because of the principalities in the space, because principalities play a big role in the spiritual atmosphere of a place, where they're like, it is easy for you to be able to pray and praise and worship in that place, right? Because of the fact that um whatever kind of spirit is in the air or in the heavens, that is controlling the space, right? And so sometimes it'd be hard to pray, sometimes it's really hard to pray, to push through, right? And one can find themselves slipping in these spaces. Now, the space is a space that has been gentrified. Like, it was once clearly just a normal suburbia, because you'll find like normal houses, probably 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom houses, and then in one space of the area, and then all of a sudden you'll find like just business district, right? You sky rises and things like that. So it was obviously taken over by like a, you know, I'm gonna say a 666 um, spirit, and you can clearly tell the distinction between those that are very well off and those that are not, but like have kept their homes obviously and haven't moved out of the area. And so those are the ones that we came to, right? We came for, you know, to pray for and things like that. But it was so hard. The pushback was so tough. And there's when the Lord started telling me about the giants, you know, in Genesis. I think there's a word about that you can look for on here, on the channel, about, you know, the giants, the Nephilim that God speaks about, that is spoken about in Genesis, and then again in Jude about the fallen angels, and how the spirit of these giants and the fallen angels are in these spaces, and they fought quite much until they like literally took us out of the area, right? To the point of running out of everything, running out of money to sustain ourselves while we're here and trying to do this work, you know, because God, when He first called me, He was like, "You are my disciple," and I didn't understand that at the time until He gave me that word, you know, that whoever is going to be following me must count the cost, and it was costly, and He says that like no one can follow Him without giving up everything, right? And so then that's what we did. We gave out homes, we gave away homes, we gave away property, we gave away land, and that's in, I think, Luke 14, 26, 28, like Luke 14, and we gave up these things, and He said we would gain these and more. But however, the gaining back these things has been the tough part. We don't know how long it's going to take, so it has been a push and pull and tug of war in the spirit. Before we came back here, because we left for quite a while because we couldn't afford the place, um we found ourselves in the streets, honestly speaking, and we had to find the closest place in the land to stay, and it was horrific. And even there, the place was ridden with the spirit of fallen angels and the Nephilim. How do I know? Because in the spiritual realm, like while you pray, if you're in tune, like spiritually, you can sort of hear what is going on in the spirit. Like these things have names, guys, and they'd be like, I remember before we came back, I just heard in the spirit when I'm sleeping, like, don't go where you're not wanted. And I was like, whoa, dang, like we're not wanted in this land. And another time, something else said, oh, I thought you were fallen angels. Um, and we were like, what? What do you mean? Because in this time, apparently, like finding true saints is like a hard thing to come by. And so I'm right. And so yeah, I'm gonna go into the fact that many of us have been confused about the promise that God has given us, and also about certain prophecies that have not come to pass the way that we thought. I'm going to quickly go to Hebrews 1 verse 5, and it says, for God never said to any angel what He said to Jesus: you are my son, today I have become your father. And when He brought His supreme son into the world, God said, let all of God's angels worship Him. Regarding the angels, He says He sends His angels like the winds, His servants like the flames of fire. But to the son, He says, for your throne, O God, endures forever and ever. He calls Christ God, as He is God, right? And He says, you will rule with a scepter of justice, or you rule with a scepter of justice. You love justice and hate evil. I'm going to quickly go to 13. It says, God never said, no, let's go to 10. It says, He also says to the Son, in the beginning, Lord, you laid the foundation of the earth and made the heavens with your hand. They will perish, but you will remain forever, right? And then it says in 13, God never said to any of the angels, sit in the place of honor of my right hand. Therefore, angels are only servants, spirits sent to take care of the people who will inherit the land. So I found the scripture so important. I was given it, I think, a couple of days ago, because it seems that in this walk that we've been walking, there are many angels that have inserted themselves in the decision making of our whereabouts, and how we are run to conquer the land, and also how we are to be redeemed, like how we are to regain those things that we gave away. Some of us are fighting, you know, strongholds and battles, and they have interjected themselves and their own ideas, truly, in how this should be done. And so this has caused much dismay, much confusion in the saints, right? Hope deferred in the saints. And God, people have been wondering, like, did I hear you, God? Like, and half the time, honestly, it might not have been him. And which is sad, because now it's like you kind of have to retrace and go back to what was the original promise that God gave, right? What was his original word when he set us out and he commissioned us, and so that we don't get lost in the in between, that the enemy, he put in a bit of spice in the word. And I think this was so that to discourage us and to think that God is not with us anymore. That was the plan of the enemy, or also to insert himself as the provider, the like, as if he were the one to be guiding us through this process. Now, the story of these fallen angels is like, it's so, it's kind of a, like, I don't want to say a scary one. We're not born of fear, but it's a very contentious one. I want to go to first Romans 8:38 quickly, where Paul says, "For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God which is in Christ Jesus." So then, because he says this, we are aware then that there are things that try to separate us from the love of Jesus, even angels. I'm going to quickly go to 1 Galatians 1:8. It says, "But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one preached to you, let him be eternally condemned." So we know that there are angels out here that are preaching a gospel that is not the gospel of God, that is confusing the children of God, and has intercepted our journeys somehow to make a mess of things. And now God is revealing things, and because he's revealing things, because God is now beginning his process of judgment, because we know that there's judgment day, but we know that the judgment is a process, and before he does this, he reveals to the church what is going on, that we might step back from this mess, right? That we might take heed and then be like, no, this is not the spirit of God. I'm gonna do part 2 because my time's running out. Okay.